And hello, sports fans of the Rio Grande Valley, and thanks for joining us on another episode of the South Texas Border Sports Podcast. My name is Ray Silva. If you missed any of our episodes, you can log on to anchor.fm/STBS or on a brand new platform called podpage.com/STBS RGV. This week's guest, he is one of the founders of the RGV Texans Club, a fan club dedicated to the Houston Texans here in the Rio Grande Valley. He's been on before, and I'd like to welcome him back. He is Michael Garza. Michael, thanks for taking time out of the busy schedule. Thanks for joining us. How's everything going? And
Yes.
welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back, and it's good talking to you always. Always.
And so, yeah, let's get right down to it. The Texans are in full slate of their training camp. David Mills is looking mighty impressive so far. What are kind of the expectations that now Texans fan can look forward to here in week in year number two of the Mills era?
A lot of progression from year one to two. I mean, he made big strides at the end of the season. If you see the last 4 or 5 games, it was night and day from at the beginning of the season. You know, he was benched for a while, but when he came back, he was totally different. He was cutting down the turnovers, not telegraphing his passes, and he just looked very sharp. It led us to a few wins, and we should have beat also Tennessee in the last game of the season, but very impressive. And by all accounts, he's looked great in training camp. The team is rallying around him. He's even getting some national notoriety now. That he's ready to take the next step. And amongst the rookies last year, quarterbacks, he was pretty much behind Mac Jones in most of stats, not on top. And I'm really excited about it. And it's honestly, at the beginning of the season, I was thinking this guy is terrible. He's horrible. But then he showed me a totally different new Mills at the end, and I'm so excited, and I'm willing to see what he's ready to do this year.
The draft was going to be key because of everything that was surrounding the offseason. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you lose Deshaun Watson, but you garner pretty much a heist of first round picks, second round picks,
Mm-hmm.
and they drafted so well to complement Mills's needs. What's gonna have to be the key early on for him to be successful with those rookies and kind of complement the veterans that they already have on staff?
Well, one thing we need to mention, our second round pick, John Mechie, unfortunately will be out. Receiver from Alabama. He was diagnosed with leukemia, but he's going to be okay. But more than likely, he's going to miss all of this season. And I was really looking forward to see what he would add to the offense. He's dynamic receiver out of Alabama. But nonetheless, we got Dameon Pierce out of Florida. He's a really shifty, high energy running back that I expect to be a starter probably by the end of the season. Reminds me of young Darren Sproles with a little bit of Ray Rice. Just really quick out of the backfield. So the receivers, we're counting on Brandon Cooks, of course, and Nico Collins is also. It looks like he's taking the big leap from year one to two. Receiver out of Michigan last year, 6'4", 215, big body. He's going to win a lot of those toss ups. Those jump ball type of passes. But I think the key for Mills in the offense is to have a good running game to alleviate some of the pressure off of him, and that of course that opens up the play action and a lot more diversity. And then with a new offensive coordinator, Pep Hamilton, he's going to add some new wrinkles. So I'm really looking forward to that. I At the end of the season, the offense was really coming along, and I expected to make that much of an improvement. And another thing, we can't overstate the offensive line. You can't do nothing with the offensive line. Tunsil is back. Howard is back in his position at right tackle, and we drafted Kenyon Green from A&M in the first round as a big guard. So we're gonna, and then we signed AJ Cannon from Jacksonville. So we're gonna have a really good line. So I expect them to open up holes and open up the ground game, which is gonna make it the passing game even that more dangerous.
Absolutely. As we turn to the other side of the coin, if it wasn't for the defense, maybe a lot of the games that the Texans may have lost, could have been decided by even a bigger margin, but the secondary has really done their part. They got a couple of key players in, and they were able to retain most of everyone in the secondary. Just how do you see Lovey Smith making those adjustments to make them even a better crew and having a stronger defensive line this year? I mean, the one guy I'm circling on the defensive line and linebacker course is Lopez, and of course
Mhm.
the secondary. You know, mm, everyone is capable in there in the secondary, but I just feel like Lopez has got to have a monster year this year.
Yeah, I think he's going to make the jump from 1 to 2. And in addition, Lopez, you got Grinyard coming back. He had 8 sacks, but he missed some time. But a good edge rusher. And then we also made some notable free agent signings. We got Hughes and Addison from Buffalo. We got Rashawn Green from Seattle, and Malik Collins, who was a beast last year while he was playing up the middle, is coming back. So you mix in Lopez, the youth, and Grinyard with those veterans, the defensive line is going to be fresh, and they're going to be solid, which is, of course, going to make the secondary that much better because the less time a quarterback has, the better the secondary. The shorter the time they have to cover. And our secondary, which last year was really improved for the prior year, they had I don't remember the exact amount of interceptions, but they had way many more interceptions last year and turnovers. We got Desmond King returning, and we signed Nelson from previously from Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, a solid veteran. So yeah, and then you combine that with Daryl Stingley, the number 3 pick in the draft, and Petrie, the number 2, the second round pick out of Baylor, who was the defensive player of the year. You have the makings of a much improved defense. And then defensively, we also drafted Booker from Stanford and Harris from Alabama. It's going to be a young, athletic, and from what I'm hearing about the Alabama linebacker, he's one of the most athletic linebackers we have. So I see Lovey Smith with a lot of talent to work with, and they showed a lot of promise last year. And now you add this much more talent, they're going to be solid to keep us in games, I think.
Absolutely, as I'm being joined by Michael Garza of the RGV Texans. Michael, now we move on from, I guess, from the training camp stories on to the, I guess, the friendly more side of things. The Texans added a red helmet. I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on that, and how do you like that helmet for being the Battle Red Day uniform helmet for this season?
It's gorgeous. It looks absolutely great. Man, actually going forward, maybe in a year or two, it could be our primary helmet, and it looks really clean with the white jerseys, especially. I can't wait to see it, and I think in the next year or two, they're going to probably do a rebrand and maybe new uniforms or something. But that's got to be. I would think that that's going to be a bigger part going forward. Just to have it once per season is. I don't know. I think we need to do it. We utilize it more, and I think eventually the Texans will.
The one uniform I would like to see used in a little bit on a little bit more high volume basis is the
Uh,
color rush. If you're gonna do a subtle rebrand, I would like to see the color rush uniforms be used a little more instead of
yeah,
the once per year. I mean
or maybe
that's
even
just me.
evenly, right?
Yeah, I mean it's nice they're gonna be using it against Cleveland this year, and of course
Mhm.
color rush against Cleveland, battle red day against Philadelphia Eagles,
Yeah.
and then of course you have your solid Liberty Whites against the Colts as we were talking right
Mhm.
before you came on the air. It's just something for me that I guess it's gonna have to be a subtle transition into these
Yeah.
newer uniforms that we're seeing that the NFL's adopting like a third uniform set for these teams for like a marketing ploy. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. Yeah, personally, I would love for the color rush to be the permanent, but I don't know if it will. But with the new start, new era with the Texans, I wouldn't be shocked if within a year or two they go with a complete rebrand and maybe new uniforms. Now that we're doing the new battle red helmets, a great step in the right direction. So I wouldn't be shocked if they continue that, take it a step farther the following year or two, and maybe new uniforms or different color schemes for the home games.
For the Battle Red Days, that I would like to see that be used a little bit more high volume basis instead of a once per year thing. Just try to mix it up a little bit more. As far as the total rebrand, I guess that we're so used to the bull. What would you kind of see the rebrand going if there was to be one?
Well, maybe that red helmet could be used permanently, and then use the blue helmet as a throwback. When we do throwbacks, that makes the most logical sense. I mean, the reception the red helmets are getting is just unbelievable. It's just everybody loves it. It's such a clean, great, beautiful look. So I mean, Buffalo back in the if you remember back in the late '80s, early '90s, they went with that red helmet and looked beautiful. So maybe it could get to that point where they go that way, and then the uniforms that we have now will be the throwback uniforms. I mean, it's really hard to tell, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did that. One of these days.
Yeah, for me, I mean the color rush. I would love for it to be at least the primary at some point in the franchise's existence. Now let's talk about a little bit more of the local side and what you guys want to do as an organization. I know you guys have already pre-planned your event for the season opener, September 11th, there at London's. What do you guys have in store? What can Texans fans of the Rio Grande Valley expect for the organization for you guys as an organization to have giveaways? What's some of the
Yeah.
plans?
Well, the cool thing about the RGV Texans, we're actually endorsed by the Texans. I keep in contact with the Texans PR girl marketing people, and they actually send us merchandise a few times a year. And some of it's really cool that we raffle it off. Some of them is giveaways, little knickknacks, keychains, bracelets, stuff like that. So we always do that. We'll usually for the first 10, 15 people, we'll give them the little gifts, whether it be a keychain or the little bracelets or koozies or stuff like that. So that's what we'll do. And then they also send us a bunch of other cool merchandise, t-shirts. This year they send a whole bunch of those foam hands with the number one, a whole bunch of them. So we'll be raffling or giving some of those away. So that adds a lot to the vibe. I mean, since we started this about 4 or 5 years ago, our Texan family has grown, and it's funny. We pretty much just see each other during football season, so we're looking forward to seeing a lot of the familiar faces. So that in itself is a great time, and we always have a good time. And then having these little giveaways and raffles just adds to it, and try to get everybody to go out with going home with some little Texan goodies. And in the past, they've given us some really cool. Like autographed pictures, autographed mini helmets, autographed footballs, and it's really neat that they recognize us and they really appreciate and love the work that we're doing down here. I'll send them pictures from the get-togethers, and they're very complimentary, and they're very easy, great to work with. So that's pretty neat that we're actually officially recognized by the Texans.
And now, some of the things that to talk about recognition is now they're starting to build a lot on the Hispanic communities, and then now that there's a fan group out of Mexico that they're catering to that side of the border now. How do you feel about them outreaching to the Hispanic communities now that they've played already in Mexico City once, and hopefully that they'll be able to go out there again soon and try to build off the fan base that there is out there?
Well, that was cool that Roy Lopez was actually there during the draft, day 2, I believe. And he took pictures and hung out with him. So that was really neat. And of course, I followed them on Twitter and Facebook. So, of course, I got in my mind thinking, going, 100 miles an hour, like, since I have good, connections with a couple of the Texans marketing people, I was thinking maybe one day we could reach out and during next year's draft, I'm gonna reach out and ask him, hey, what do you think of the possibility of maybe even having a Texan down here for our draft party. This year we had our draft party there at the Landmark and Tower in Alamo, Texas. It's a beautiful indoor-outdoor facility with a big old screen and food trucks. So it's a great ambience. So we had it there, and maybe we'll do it again next year there. And of course, I'm going to reach out, and it doesn't hurt to ask, right? Maybe we can get one of the Texans to join us and hang out with us, and for at least day 2 of the draft or something.
Yeah, absolutely. As I'm being joined by Michael Garza of the RGV Texans. Michael, it's year 5 or 6. Correct me on this, that you're going on with the RGV Texans organization now.
Oh, I want to say we started probably our first, it was either 17 or 18. But let me backtrack a little. Years ago, there was the original Texan group. It was called Los Tejanos del
Tejanos del
Sur.
Sur.
I would go to a lot of the events, and I was with them when we went to the Falcons game back in 2011. We had the privilege of getting on the field and holding the American flag during the pregame festivities. So I've looked into that now, but it was just too late, and they said, maybe we'll shoot for next year. But so we did, and then that disbanded, and me, friend Marco Jimenez, brother Juan Garza, we said, we should do something. We're at Texas times for getting excited back when Watson got traded, and we should kind of rile up the folks again. And we got it started slowly but surely. But I want to say it was either 17 or 18. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess like my true fandom started when JJ Moses came down, and then when Alfred Blue and Alfred Blue and D'Amico Ryans came down to the academy in Weslaco. I don't know if you.
Whitney Merciless also come?
Yeah, Whitney
Merciless?
Merciless. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
Whitney Merciless too. I remember that because I still got a few of the autographed items that one day I would like to personally show you that, hey, I mean, I still got these items autographed, and
Nice.
and it was it was quite the afternoon there, because I remember standing in line there in Academy, and it was like the line just started filling out like super long. I don't know if you
Really.
recall that.
I wasn't able to go. I was at work. I just couldn't. I wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. But yes, I would have loved to have been there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, hey, the Texans fan base does exist, and they do come out in full force, and I'll never forget though when those guys showed up. They had the song "Bulls on Parade" in the background. I thought it
Oh,
was
okay.
something really cool.
No
I mean, that
kidding. Must
that
have been a
they
magical moment, right?
Yeah, I mean, even Toro, the mascot, was there. The
Yeah.
Toro, the bull.
Yes.
Yeah, he was also out there. But man, I just like to take time out of your busy schedule, say many thanks, appreciate it, and just so guys, if you're interested in finding out about the RGV Texans, you can find them right now under RGV_Texans on Twitter, and of course under Facebook, RGV Texans. And folks, this has been another episode of the South Texas Border Sports Podcast. Thank you for listening. Hello, sports fans. Thanks for listening to another episode of the South Texas Border Sports Podcast. This is your host, Ray Silva. Be tuned next week for another great episode as we drop podcast every Monday here on anchor.fm/STBS. Don't forget, our podcast can also be found via Google Podcast, Apple iTunes, and Spotify. Thanks for listening.